I recently picked up the pocket Thomasmerton and added it to my collection of spiritual books. Thomasmerton is a figure that I've been familiar with for a long time, but this is the first time I've had one of his books in my collection. And this is a collection of just little short writings taken from all of his books. And if you don't know who Thomasmerton was, he was a Christian mystical thinker of the 20th century, Trappist monk, I believe. And his writings were considered so unorthodox and threatening to the religious hierarchy of the time that the Vatican considered putting a warning label on his books, like they did with Father Anthony de Mello, saying these writings don't adhere to Catholic doctrine and they may cause grave harm to your soul, which honestly to me that's like an endorsement. But I wanted to share one passage that I was reading this morning, because as I've been looking at this book, just kind of flipping through it to random pages, every page that I've turned to has some firecracker of spiritual wisdom, of social commentary, of political insight. His thinking was wide-ranging and always deep and always cutting and incisive. And I was reading this one particular passage this morning that seems very relevant to the current cultural moment, because it's about how we form idols out of our political ideas, our social affiliations, even our scientific discourse, and we believe that we and we alone hold the truth, and the way we idolize that, and we go to war with one another to defend our beliefs. We create this image and then we have to cling to that image and defend it. So I just wanted to read this passage to you and let you think about it. He says, "We are all the more inclined to idolatry because we imagine that we are of all generations the most enlightened, the most objective, the most scientific, the most progressive, and the most humane. This in fact is an image of ourselves, an image which is false, and is also the object of a cult. We worship ourselves in this image. The nature of our acts is determined in large measure by the demands of our worship. Because we have an image, a simulacrum of ourselves as fair, objective, practical, and humane, we actually make it more difficult for ourselves to be what we think we are. Since our objectivity, in quotes, for instance, is in fact an image of ourselves as objective, we soon take our objectivity for granted, and instead of checking the facts, we simply manipulate the facts to fit our pious conviction. In other words, instead of taking care to examine the realities of our political or social problems, we simply bring out the idols in solemn procession. We are the ones who are right, they are the ones who are wrong. We are the good guys, they are the bad guys. We are honest, they are crooks." Look at what's going on right now in our current political discourse and tell me if this doesn't resonate. In this confrontation of images, objectivity ceases to be a consistent attention to fact and becomes a devout and blind fidelity to myth. If the adversary is by definition wicked, then objectivity consists simply in refusing to believe that he can possibly be honest in any circumstance whatever. If facts seem to conflict with images, then we feel that we are being tempted by the devil, and we determine that we will be all the more blindly loyal to our images. To debate with the devil would be to yield. Thus, in support of realism and objectivity, we simply determine beforehand that we will be swayed by no fact whatsoever that does not accord perfectly with our own preconceived judgment. Objectivity becomes simple dogmatism.